track at the wall. We are tied. Look at this. He's standing forward. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. From dropping a big leg. Over for the cover. It's over. Unbelievable.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. Awesome. He got it. The starter. Mike Tyson in. Austin is the champion. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Touch a ball, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Oh my God, no! Mankind did it! Nick Foley did it! No, Stone Cold did it! Mankind has achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it! No, you can't do it! You can't do it! No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Welcome to the home of legends, WWE WAR Wrestling Above Replacement. I am JT, that is Marcus, coming at you every other Thursday here on the North-South Connection Podcast Network in both audio and video form. We have a YouTube channel to search North-South Connection, easy for me to say. Subscribe, love, leave comments, share, all the good stuff. Also, our audio versions are available on all podcast applications by searching North-South Connection there as well. We have stuff that's simulcast like this podcast, but we also have shows that are video exclusive, audio exclusive. We have content every day. Check us out, buddy. And we are finally into the golden promised land. We spent months travailing through the 2018-19 season, but we have arrived in heaven, my friend.
40 years to the desert, but we made it.
Oof.
Well worth it. I'm so excited. One, to be out of that season, and two, to be into this season. And of course, we were talking about 1990, 1991.
Just
World
months
Wrestling
before
Federation.
this began. This run began right there. Yeah, so you may be saying season. What the fuck does that mean? Here on WAR, we look at things. We look at wrestling, WWE wrestling, in a seasonal format. So that's not a calendar year. In our world, our seasons begin with the first pay-per-view following WrestleMania and ending with the WrestleMania the following calendar year. So for this season, we're not going to start until SummerSlam 90 because there's nothing between WrestleMania 6 and SummerSlam 90, but we'll end with WrestleMania 7. It's only going to be a 4 pay-per-view season. We're super excited about it after slogging through 18-19. And we'll say this, we're going to do things a little bit differently this season, and probably for the season only. We're only going to tackle 1 pay-per-view an episode. Normally we do 2, but because it's a short season and it's such a beautiful season, we wanted to just kind of spotlight each show on its own because it's a fun one to talk about. So tonight we're only covering SummerSlam 1990, and we do that in a plus-minus system by breaking everything down to an average replacement level mentality. So if you think of the most average match, average moment, average build, you're in the middle. For everything that's better than average on these shows, we give a +1. For everything that's worse, we give a -1. We do that in a series of categories. We then net all that out. We also take our match grades. We assign a grade to every match. I take my grade, I take Marcus's grade. We average that out. and then we stack that up versus an average match score of 2.5, and we total that up as well. So we tally everything up. That gives us our total WAR score. We then stack every pay-per-view in history against each other, and we'll see how everything shakes out based on our metrics. So far on this show, we have done 107 pay-per-views, and we've done 11 seasons. This is our 12th season. So we've done a lot. We have quite the list already, Marcus. Why don't you quickly run down the categories that we score these shows in?
Absolutely. Our first category is build, followed up by commentary, the atmosphere of the event, notable moments and importance that transpire that night, our match grades, card structure, rewatchability, and all-time matches. And an all-time match, for it to be a positive or a plus, is a match that both JT and I agree is 4.25 and above, and for it to be a minus, it is something we both agree is 0.75 and below.
Okay. So that all said, you can see if you're new to the show, like you're not just going to survive in this program based on great match quality, because it's
good matches. Who cares?
It's a small part of the puzzle. We are critiquing based on everything a pay-per-view has to offer. We're going to have great build, great commentary, atmosphere, important stuff happening. We saw that plague our last season, 18-19. Nothing happened, and that hurts these shows. So we need stuff to happen to make these shows great, right?
Storytelling doesn't just have to happen in the ring. Backstage vignettes, storylines that
Things
get played
happening
off backstage, promos,
the show meaning
lines.
something. Watching the show meaning something. Now, are we going to lie and say there's not a nostalgic lens to some of these shows? Of course, right? But that's part of the shows. It's like that adds to it. They did more shit back then. Stuff meant more back then. So, yes, of course, the nostalgia for some of that is going to bleed through. All right, so let's dive in. SummerSlam 1990, August 27th, from the Philadelphia Spectrum, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 19,304 in attendance. The Heat returns is the tagline. A simple two-man booth of Vince McMahon and Roddy Piper, not the 15 commentators like we had in our last episode. Much more tight tonight. We have one dark match as Shane Douglas defeats Playboy Buddy Rose. Quite the dark match there. And then we get right into things. So we have our tag team opener as Power and Glory defeat the Rockers in 6 minutes. Power and Glory, more like sour and gory. So we'll see what next season. They have, of course, Paul Roma and Hercules. This match is unique in that Shawn Michaels' knee was busted up and needed to take time off. So we tell this story very succinctly in this match where they attack him before the match with the chain. He's on the floor the whole match. It's a handicap match against Marty Jannetty. But I'll tell you what, it's freaking low-key. I don't think it's low-key. I think most people like this match. It's a lot of fun. So I went 3.5 on this. It's just a dissection of Marty Jannetty about Power and Glory. Shawn climbing. They keep kicking him back down. Marty gets some hope spots. We get an awesome finish at the Powerplex. The crowd is going nuts. You leave this show thinking Power and Glory is a fucking future star tag team for this promotion.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk. I at least could talk for a long time about the tag team booking of 1990, and they're gifted here with Power and Glory, a thrown together tag team. They did a little bit on TV to get them together, but they're on relative short notice put together. And they click, and having this match in this crowd of Philly, my stomping grounds, this was just right, man. And I mean, Shawn Michaels needing to miss time, that doesn't sound like him. I'm sure this won't be a thing as seasons continue for him. But I went
not a
3.5. Not a trend. A total blip on the radar. I went 3.5, and like you said, I mean, Power and Glory, they come out of this match looking so great. They seem like a no doubter. Logical challengers for the tag team titles, whoever those champions may be. So our next contest, it is our first title match of the evening, and it is for the Intercontinental Championship. And unfortunately, the SummerSlam curse continues for Brutus the Barber Beefcake, as this was the jet ski accident, and he is being replaced by the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, who is going to defeat Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship. I went with a 2.5 for the match. It's replacement level. You've got Perfect doing all of his classic bumps, really trying to pull it up. And Kerry Von Erich, he's there. You see the charisma. He looks great. It's a cool moment because you didn't really get this is short notice in 1990. It's 2 weeks notice for a title defense. So it's a cool surprise.
It's only 5 minutes. I think it's one of the matches that when you look at this card, just from a match quality standpoint, hurts it. This is one where you would expect Perfect to deliver like a really good IC title match. It would help buffer the card up and, make it carry the show, right? But it ends up because Von Erich is just so limited at this point, so new. Yeah, it only goes 5 minutes. It's a quick, I don't even want to call it a squash. It's just, but Perfect bumps a shitload. So yeah, 2.5. Tornado's your IC champion in a big upset. The next match isn't even a match. It's supposed to be Sensational Queen Sherry against Sweet Sapphire, but Sapphire doesn't show up. Sherry does he's got the cat paint on and the cat mask, screams the one, the count. She wins by count out on a no-show. I gave it a star because it actually forwards this major storyline, and I didn't want it to be considered all-time bad because it's not really a match. I would have went NA before like a 0,
Mm-hmm.
So it was fine. I think it helps further the show long through line of what's going to happen with Sapphire, Dusty, Savage, and all this.
Yep, same for me. 1-1 as well, and we'll see where that goes. Or if anybody's even seen Sapphire all night. I don't know if
I haven't seen her.
Okay. Hopefully,
we're all still looking for her though.
Our next match is Tito Santana taking on the Warlord. I went 2 1/4, not quite on par with. Well, I guess we haven't done WrestleMania 6 yet, but with what I imagine will end up being the grade for Barbarian and Tito Santana at WrestleMania 6. This felt like just a little bit of a step down. That's probably because Warlord's not the worker that Barbarian is. But either way, it got across the point. Barbarian's going to be a tough customer to deal with in the World Wrestling Federation as they establish him as a single star.
Yeah, I mean, perfectly fine. 2 1/4. Slick's doing his thing at ringside. Tito puts over the powers of pain on back-to-back pay-per-views. And to your point, Barbarian's a better worker. Warlord's fine, though. This is a perfectly fine old-school SummerSlam squash to get over the new heel. So this is right on brand. Our best match of the card, maybe top 2, maybe best, is our tag team title match. It's up next is the Hart Foundation defeats Demolition in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. It is Smash and Crush. We'll get into the nuances of that a little bit later, but there's some nonsense in here. Like we get the stupid DQ for one of the falls, a Crush just picks up the referee. You get a lot of chaos at the end with Legion of Doom coming out. They expose Axe, and then chaos ensues into the finish. It's a great moment. The pop is huge, and the Hearts win the tag titles. It's a fun match. It's pretty much the end of Demolition as we know it for the most part. We get a little coda at the end here, but their last peak was WrestleMania 6. This is their final salvo. And it's fitting to end at the hands of the Hart Foundation, who 2 years earlier, kind of started the Hart Foundation's face turn at SummerSlam 88 against Demolition as tag team champion. So it's kind of a fitting little 2-year bookend as well for them. So I went 3-7-5, Marcus. I think it's a very, very good, borderline great tag team title match.
Yeah, so I'm a bit biased. This is one of my favorite matches of all time. Depending on the day, I might go full 5 on it, or anywhere in between. But for this, I settled on 4.25. I do think it's an all-time classic tag team match. I love the pacing. I love the structure of the match. I love that there's so many moving pieces, and they're able to connect everything flawlessly, I think. And the fact that this match, the match doesn't allow for Crush, who is greener than grass, to bring it down at all. He's almost, he's a non-factor, but like he contributes to the match, but at no point does his inexperience harm the match at all. And
no, just a stupid thing with grabbing the ref. I think they could have figured out a better DQ. Yeah, it's not his fault, but they could have figured out a better way to do the DQ.
Like at no point in the match does he look lost. Like you're going through Crush right now. On Warzone. Like, is Crush
Brutal.
ever this good? Is he ever is he ever as good as he is on this night?
Maybe face 92 or 93 Crusher before the turn is probably his peak, but it's close.
Yeah, I just love this match. It's an all timer for me. I love the moving pieces, and then I really love that you get really the final goodbye kind of Demolition at their peak. You get the Road Warriors, who, whether you're talking about their in-ring work, their look or whatever, but like, they're not too far from their prime. And then you also have the Hart Foundation as well. So like, you got all three of these top tag teams of the era all involved in one segment, and that's just not the type of thing you get on WWF at this time. So I thought it was a fantastic match, and they did great tying all the pieces together. So we take our intermission, which I love about this show, and we come back and we've got Jake the Snake Roberts taking on Bad News Brown, and our special enforcer for this match, our special guest referee, is the Big Boss Man, and this is the of course Harlem sewer rats taking on the snake.
Yep.
And Jake's Damien for this show is on steroids. Everybody's on steroids at this time, including Damien. He huge. But I went 2 for this match. It's a little sloppy, but it's all right.
I went 175. I mean, it's pretty bad, honestly. It's. I mean, the only positive it's under 5 minutes, but it's your typical, and it's Bad News last pay-per-view match, and it encapsulates his whole run, like a shitty brawl ending with a DQ where he doesn't lose clean. I'm guessing he wasn't planning to leave, or they probably would have jobbed him out here. Jake is another king of the non-pay-per-view finish, so you put the two of them together, and you're just going to get kind of a mess. Boss Man is super over. He's got double duty tonight. This is the early days of his face run. Jake is still very over as well. It's Bad News is just a bad opponent for him. Like, I get they were trying to manufacture the storyline, but they could have found something better for Jake, I think, on this show.
The cool thing about this era is, even though you had Bad News Brown, who's like obviously on his way out of the territory, you can't just drop him out on pay-per-view because like he might just decide not to do it.
Yeah, he's just not going to show up.
He's not going to show up, or he's going to go out there and go into business for himself.
Right.
Like, it's a little bit of a charm that's missing from current day product. So I do like that.
And I don't know who Jake could have even fought. I mean, maybe there's no one else. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right, tag action next is Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkov defeat the Orient Express. Nikolai had just turned and joined America. Duggan was welcoming in with open arms. We get the Pledge of Allegiance before the match. It's whatever. Again, a 3-minute squash. And it's going to be a very interesting pay-per-view, Marcus, for us, because there's so much stuff that's great about it. The in-ring action is not one of it. This is like Superstars level stuff that we get on the actual in-ring piece. So this match, throwaway.
Yeah, 1.75 for me. Even though it is 3 minutes, it doesn't take up a lot of time. It feels a little bit longer. Yeah. But it's not a 45-minute investment into the card like we had last season.
No.
All right, we have a big featured bout, as we have the Macho King Randy Savage defeating Dusty Rhodes. And before this match, we get a good piece of business, as we'll get into later. But I went 2.5 for the match. I know the match is a little maligned because of the sprint and the finish to get to it. But I don't know, rewatching it, I was like, oh, it was all right. Like, it's really not bad.
I went 2.25. It's only 2 minutes, but you get all the DiBiase stuff. You get, Dusty chasing out after into the limo and all that, which is great. Savage wins the feud that's been going since January, so it's a pretty long feud. He wins it pretty clean, which makes sense. This is setting Savage up for bigger things in the fall. I'd say this really is the thud of Dusty's WWF run. He had a good year. Like, SummerSlam '89 is really his debut. Debuted a little before it, but not too much. And then from here on out, it's like Job City for him mainly. So he this really ends his run. He gets humiliated with Sapphire, gets humiliated by Savage, and then loses quickly. So I think this and the perfect match, other teeter-totter matches that could have made this like in-ring great, really high end show maybe if this hits what they had potential to do. And then if Perfect Tornado or Perfect Beefcake, if he doesn't get hurt, what that could have been. All right, semi-main event time as Hulk Hogan makes his return from injury to eradicate the earthquake. I've always had a soft spot for this match. I think it's very good. Hogan does kick out of the earthquake splash, which is questionable. Again, though, it's only 13 minutes. Like, there are not very many long matches on the show at all. It's pretty short for a Hogan match as a main event level match. It ends up being a DQ. Bossman's in Hogan's corner. Of course, he took Tugboat's place, who got hurt. Dino and Jimmy Hart in Earthquake's corner. The most memorable part is really the welts on Earthquake's back when Hogan hits him with a chair. Are just nasty. So I went 3.5. I think it still holds up pretty well.
This match, every time I watch it, I like it a little bit more and a little bit more. It is a masterclass of Hogan storytelling and having the crowd in the palm of his hand. An Earthquake, was he like 20 years old or whatever in this match? Doesn't look out of place. Like, he's super young and he looks like a top Hogan opponent of all time. I love this match. I went 4.25. I think it's another classic on this card. I don't think it gets the love that it deserves because it really is just a fantastic piece of business. And unfortunately, it's a style of match that you won't see on TV anymore. It's just a style that nobody works. But man, it's red. The crowd is red hot. It's super cool. The match makes sense. The storytelling is awesome. Hogan trying to press out of the Boston Crab on Earthquake, and Earthquake hitting the splash, and you hear just the crowd just deflates and the sense of danger. You got Hogan slamming Earthquake on the table on the outside, and he catches the edge of the table so it doesn't even break. It looks even better because the table doesn't break perfectly in the middle. It just kind of tips over, and Earthquake takes this tumble,
slides right down.
It's great. You got the welts on Earthquake's back from the chair and the step stool. You got Bossman being out there as a replacement for the Tugster, which I think adds to the match. The doubles when Dino Bravo comes in and cheats with Earthquake to hit the big slam on Hogan, but then they switch it around and Bossman comes in with Hogan to hit the double. Oh, it's just so good. I really do love this match. And I love this little run of Hogan that you and Scott covered on Place to Be as well.
It's a sneaky
forgotten. It's really great work.
Solid run.
Yeah. You're right, because you think about him being done. WrestleMania 6. That's kind of the end of his peak. But no, he's definitely still got it here in 90.
Yeah, Earthquake and Slaughter end up being both very good opponents for him. All right. Main event time.
Here we go. And there ain't going to be no rematch as Rick Rude challenges the Ultimate Warrior in a solid steel cage, the classic blue bar steel cage. Warrior retains. I went 3.25. Not their best work. But
no, the worst of the series, really.
Yeah, but they've always got good chemistry. And I think you and Aaron always point out that it might be Warrior that's bringing the best out of Rude, but I do feel at this point in time, Rude has kind of fixed some of the. He's also not as green as he was. Like in 88 and 89, he's still pretty green. He's only been in the business for a few years at that point. So I feel like by 90, he's closer to the worker that he ends up being in WCW, where he does a lot of his peak work. I love the theme with the Rocky and the training, and Rude cuts his hair to get more serious, and he's in.
The only part I don't like about the build, and we talked about on PTB, is that Warrior beats him on Saturday's main event a month before. So it made no sense that they did it. And they really had to heat up Rude quickly. He had kind of lost a Piper feud, does nothing in Mania. Warrior already beat him at SummerSlam the year before. They do a good job of making it believable, but it sums up Warrior's whole year that they just can't find anyone that seems like that could beat him besides Hogan. So I went 3.
Oh, where's Barbarian? Where's Earthquake? These are the guys that that
it should have been Quake Warrior here. I think probably. So I went 3 stars. It's only 10 minutes. It's fine. Again, I would put it worst of their 3 big matches. SummerSlam 89 is way superior, and WrestleMania 5 I think is better as well. So Warrior wins, and we wrap up the night. So if you take Marcus's grade, my grade on every match, we average it, and they go plus minus from 2.5, nets everything out to a score of 2 for in-ring, which is pretty low, honestly, for in-ring action on this show. But alas, as we mentioned earlier, Marcus, we grade on much more. So let's get into the build. Remember, we give a point for everything above average and take away a point for everything below average. We give a point for the build of Power and Glory forming and attacking the Rockers way back after WrestleMania and building this series all the way here. A point for the Rhodes and Savage family feud has been raging since January. A point for Sapphire getting lavish gifts for weeks. What's that leading to? A point for the Hart Foundation as top contenders after a dominant win at WrestleMania. And Jesse called all this before he left it. SummerSlam 89, he says, if the Hart Foundation lose to the Brainbusters, it may be a year before they get a tag team title match. And then at WrestleMania 6, they say, after they beat the Bolsheviks, this must make them the number one contenders. They've already issued a challenge. So it's pretty good long-term storytelling, whether they meant to or not. But a point for all that. A point for the Legion of Doom showing up in the summer, forcing their way into Demolition's face. A point for the Big Boss Man stepping in to referee for Bad News Brown and Jake the Snake. A point for Nikolai turning on Mother Russia and joining Jim Duggan, who welcomes him with open arms. Slaughter is calling him out throughout all this. A point for Earthquake murdering Hogan and Tugboat in the Get Well campaign. Gave 2 points for that, actually. That's my first memory of a storyline as a wrestling fan. And I didn't mention, this is the first pay-per-view I was really a fan for. I started watching right before WrestleMania 6, but I wasn't fully ingrained. So this summer, leading up to SummerSlam 90, it was like I was all in as a fan for the first time. Earthquake, that video of him destroying Hogan was gut-wrenching as a 9-year-old. So I was all in on the build to this. 2 points. And a point for the Rude stuff we talked about, is completely rebuilding and overhauling his character.
All right, let's get into the minuses. We've got poor B for missing a second SummerSlam Intercontinental title match by dying on the beach. Of course, he gets defaced, and it's going to be a while before he returns. We've got the Texas Tornado being very quickly shoehorned into the feud to replace Beefcake. Crush being shoehorned as well into the heel Demolition heel turn. It kind of took away from their mystique immediately. After their crowning night, the three-peat at WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, he's there in April. They basically
quick,
turn them heel pretty quickly, weeks later, it feels like.
Yeah. All the stuff with the Harlem Sewer Rats. It mars what could have been an intense feud between Jake and Bad News. We got Rude kind of just being named the top contender for no real reason. And Warrior beats him on Saturday night's main event, like you talked about a month earlier.
And this had already been announced, which made it even less sense. It's like, this was already set. What are we doing? It was stupid. Made no sense. All right, so 6 for build. Very, very well built show. Commentary. Now, you think this era will do much better on commentary than the season we just did, but we'll see. Roddy Piper, point for hyping up the teamwork and urgency of Power and Glory, trying to finish off the Rockers. A point for Piper calling Bobby Boobsy. Never gets old. A point for Piper analyzing Keenan's style that says he's got such a big group, he can only focus on paydays, not their interests, because there's too much to manage. A point for Vince saying Warlord is big all over, and Piper deadpan. Is that right? It's really funny. A point for Piper roasting Blubber Love during the segment that we'll talk about in a moment. A point for Piper being all over Sapphire and Dusty. He says Dusty must be a little rusty for Sapphire to no-show. Sapphire gets tired of delivering pizzas. I like how he makes they're a couple. It's really funny to me. When he says oh, Dusty's a little rusty, he's not performing in the bedroom. A point for Vincent Piper pointing out Hogan is lean down. He's under 300 pounds for the first time, training for endurance against a larger opponent. So they did have some good moments, but they also have some shakiness here.
Training for endurance, all right. For our minuses for commentary, we got Piper's ongoing obsession with shoehorning in comments about the Iraq War.
Constant
conflict, yeah. Piper's racist commentary. You got weird random Jamaican accent that comes out throughout the show. He talks about Sapphire making Sapphire making pancakes in the back. You cannot say that then or now. But the Tito Bean jokes. So we encapsulated all that and went -3.
Yeah, I mean the Jamaican thing he does for Slick is the weirdest thing. It's just odd because like Slick's got the shoe off and he's like just doing this. Like Slick's not Jamaican. You know what I mean? Like he's doing like it's so weird. It's so weird.
Vince sounds stupid all match, not knowing the difference between Axe and Smash. It's been 4 years of Demolition.
He's called like hundreds of their fucking matches, and he's like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, is that yes, it's definitely Axe. It's like, or definitely Smash. Like, dude, like they don't even look alike in any way. Axe is thicker, Smash has long hair. Like none of it looks the same. And Crush is like 2 feet taller than all of them. Like, what are we doing? Like now, all of a sudden, he can't tell them apart. It's like, it's so dumb. Yes, okay, we've confirmed this is Smash and Crush.
So easily confused. Piper talking about hot girls being friends with fat girls to look better. Unfortunately, stuck with me my entire childhood and teenage years. Piper shitting on Warrior and backing Rude is a little weird and forced, given the heated rivalry between Rude and Piper that they had in the house shows and had on primetime. And helping Warrior just less than a year ago.
Yeah, he helped him with SummerSlam against Rude, and now he's like picking. Like, I know Piper's weird in the show. I'll give him like some leeway because I think he was just settling in. He hadn't done a lot of this, and like he kind of was thrown in at the last second when Jesse left, and now he's calling a pay-per-view. So like I think I get why maybe he's a little over the place, but he kind of bounces between face and heel at the show.
I wonder if he's half trying to work an angle so that when he goes back to in-ring competition, he can plant the seeds of like, hey,
Warrior.
Right, yeah.
I think a little bit of it. I think they're trying to figure out, is he going to be Jesse or is he going to be a face? Like, I think that's what they're trying to figure out. Like, is he just going to flat out take Jesse's spot and just be the heel guy? Because he's kind of in between all show. But by next show, he's like fully face buddy with Gorilla. So, all right. So that's a -1 for commentary. I'll be honest. That kind of surprised me. All right, atmosphere is where we're really going to hit it, Marcus. So a point for the classic SummerSlam theme and open, a point for the crowd being molten for Piper at the beginning of the show, a point for the massive pop and reaction when Roma pins Jannetty with 1 foot. Like this crowd was in on a
oh my God.
Philly crowd. So
yeah,
a point for the great heat for Mr. Perfect, a point for the monster pop when Tornado wins the IC title, a point for Demolition blaring. We get the entire Demolition song. It's the last time on pay-per-view we get it. So a point for the buzz and huge pop when the Legion of Doom show up. A point for the big pop for Jake. A point for Duggan. He's super over. A point for the crowd throughout the whole Hogan Earthquake everything. The crowd heat. Earthquake's music hits. The pop for Boss Man, even though he'd already been out there once. Earthquake getting knocked off his feet. Just everything. The crowd's into everything. A huge pop for Warrior beating Rude. A big pop for the classic SummerSlam backstage interview set. You get the clouds in the sky. A point for the backstage shots of the Spectrum. This is a timeless, important WWF venue. That is a +13 because we had no negatives of atmosphere. The crowd is perfect. Everything was great. There was no negatives in that area at all, which is maybe the first time ever that we had that.
It's just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So it takes us to notable moments of importance.
So we give a point for Power and Glory destroying Shawn Michaels' knee to explain his absence for the fall. A point for Kerry Von Erich's pay-per-view debut. A point for Kerry Von Erich winning the IC title. A point for DiBiase buying Sapphire. Dusty spends all night fretting and searching, and we kick off the DiBiase-Dusty feud. I'm still looking for. A point for the Legion of Doom pay-per-view debut. A point for the Hart Foundation win the tag titles. A point for LOD, Demolition, Hart Foundation, all in the same match. Kind of the biggest teams of the 90s, all coming together for a big star power moment. A point for Bad News Brown's final pay-per-view. A point for Slaughter, Sergeant Slaughter making his WWF return. He's on the Brother Love show on the show, and he also targets Nikolai. A point for Hulk Hogan being the first person to kick out of the Earthquake Splash. And then an all-time Dusty Rhodes promo, even though he pulled from previous material, still stands out so well. I offered up my innocence, and she paid me back and gone. Just amazing. I watched it like 3 times. That Dusty promo was so good. And again, he's pulling from old material, but whatever.
Yeah, he's playing the hits and then repackage them to a new audience. So it works. For our minuses, we got Perfect continues to lose big matches all year after being so dominant in 88 and 89. Could have easily retained here given how things are.
Yep.
are set up with like the 2 weeks notice and Beefcake being out, new challenger.
Yeah, looking at it, I think that would have been the way to go. I get they give the tornado pop the moment, but you're getting the demolition pop. I think perfect, sneaking out the win, and you kind of then set up tornado is all right. He'll get himself ingrained. He's new. It was a quick turnaround.
Yeah. Got more minuses here as we never get to see the promised and speculated on Harlem Sewer Rats. We kind of see them backstage at a pre-tape, but we don't see them live out.
And that's only on Coliseum video. And they're clearly fake. Like they're clearly rubber. It was stupid.
Yeah. Tornado. We got Texas Tornado. He wears yellow robe, yellow trunks in his pre-match promo, but he comes out and he's wearing all white.
Probably and he says he's headed right to the ring.
Perfect. Yeah, he said he's headed right to the ring. A change because Perfect's wearing the exact same thing. But if you're paying attention, you can catch that. We get a WrestleMania 7 promo hyping up 100,000 strong in the LA Coliseum.
Yeah.
And then the Tugster, Chic Tugboat being written off so abruptly, which that's still a mystery. Like they kind of talked about it on Pritchard podcast way back, but still kind of a mystery as to why exactly they went that route.
I think they just knew he wasn't really going to get over, and I think Boss Man was super hot, and they wanted to align him with Hogan, I think, as like a top guy. And then I don't know. I know there's the rumors that Tugboat was going to turn heel and fight Hogan at Mania, but I don't know if Slaughter was already earmarked as soon as he came back with this gimmick or not. But maybe that's why they did it, to try and sow the seeds for a Tugboat heel turn eventually. But so that's a +6 for moments. We gave the 2 for match in ring action. All right, card structure. We open hot with the Rockers. Point for that. Point for a good call switching Sapphire out of that singles match. Smart. 2 points there. 1 point there. Point for a good use of Tito to make Warlord look great. He looks dominant. A point for the Hart Foundation being top contenders after a dominant win at 6. Again, the Jesse stuff. Also using the point for using the classic 2 out of 3 falls. A point for a good use of Boss Man. He's a ref. He's a corner man. He's red hot. He doesn't have another random squash on the card. Who's he going to fight? He doesn't, have to lose. Like it was a good way to present him. A point for the great use of pre and post match shows. Promos all night long are executed perfectly. A point for the good use of Brother Love to get Slaughter established. They kept it tight. A point for a seamless transition from Dusty from Savage to DiBiase as a feud. Good card structure for that. A point for the stacking the double main event. Warriors that closed. You could have easily closed Hogan, but they let Warrior take it. I think part of that was probably the cage, but still. And then I thought, a point, they did a good job filling the time during the cage assembly. Like they essentially took 2 intermissions and they did a lot of promos. They hyped the main event. Lord Al's giving fun facts about the cage. Like that time could have moved slowly, but they moved it pretty quick.
And you see the cage being set up and like how many people it takes to lift up a wall. So you kind of get the gravity of that of that match. For our minuses, we got a Perfect Tornado being way too short at 5 minutes. Perfect losing the exact same way here as he did at WrestleMania 6 by hitting the ring post. Mix it up a little bit. House shows is one thing, but it's back-to-back pay-per-views. Crush in a major pay-per-view match makes Demolition.
Why would they put him in there? I get he's like maybe young and strong, but you need the cagey veteran dominant team here.
And of course, Axe and Smash have already beat the Hart Foundation, so why not run it back? Intermission is dated or for house shows. It's like a charm, but at the same time, you're watching a pay-per-view, you don't want a 15-minute break in the middle. Again, not really appropriate.
In fairness, I think they only took 5. Like the break is only 5, but then they do 5 of promos around it. That was usually what they did, was like a flurry of promos, intermission, flurry of promos, and then out. So it was 15 in the arena probably, but it's really just feels like 5 minutes on pay-per-view, but still not really needed at this point.
Yeah. And last one here, we got our Kings of the Non-Finish, Jake and Bad News.
Lame.
Yeah.
All right, so +6 for card structure. So well-built card. Here's what we're going to clean up. Rewatchability. A point for the Powerplex, one of the greatest finishers of all time, and they nail it. A point for Heenan and Perfect's promo. They shit on Texas Tornadoes. They might throw over a few mobile homes.
Kick up some dust.
Calm and dry, whatever it says. But then they have an awesome promo after flipping out, like just losing their fucking mind. 2 points for the Dusty search of Sapphire. It's iconic stuff. Duggan marching in. We're all still looking for it, Dust. Classic. A point for the Hart Foundation Phil Collins promos. They reference it before and after. Two hearts beating as one. It's one of the most iconic promos of them as a team. A point for Hawk stroking Anvil's goatee during the post promo. Hart Foundation LOD kind of do a joint venture, and Hawk is stroking it. That's a moment we can watch over and over. A great Jake promo for a shit feud. He's talking about snakes versus mice, and Damien is twisting on his neck and creeping into his face. So good. A point for Blubber Love. Brother Sergeant. So stupid. Like, why did you say Brother Slaughter? Brother Sergeant. Point for...
He's so surprised when he wins the medal that everybody knows he was going to win.
Why else would he be there? Yes. A point for Savage's pre-match promo. He's up on the sedan, and Mooney is like on the ladder shaking. So Savage is shit-talking Dusty, fueling the rumors. I've heard Sapphire, like he's getting in on it. So, and Savage and DiBiase, this is one of Peter Winston's favorite ongoing things. They have this weird little kinship over the last, since Savage turned in 89 and 90. Like, they always orbit around each other and kind of have ties to each other ever since Savage turned. This is another one where they're seemingly maybe in on it together. So a point for Hogan's fire entrance, super rewatchable, just all-timer. A point for all the illegal double team spots. You called them out earlier with Dino coming in, Boss Man coming in. A point for Earthquake's angry promo. His back is lashed to shit, bleeding, and he's screaming at Hogan. A point for Rude's Rocky theme promo. It's the last pay-per-view promo we get for Rude and Bobby, and referencing Rocky being in Philadelphia and everything. So a lot of great rewatchable moments.
And there ain't gonna be no rematch. For our minuses, Crush being a little bit awkward affects the flow of the match. Doesn't really drag it down too much. Axe again could have helped level up the match even more. Got Sarge messing up Saddam Hussein's name, the whole point of his character and promo. And then we got Duggan and Volkov doing God Bless America. It's hokey, it's awkward to watch. But that's it for the minuses.
Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot.
No.
Sarge bringing up Saddam Hussein's name is pretty funny, since that's supposed to be like his idol or whatever the frig. It's the whole point of the
his
thing.
Boy. It's his boy. Yeah.
All right, so that's a plus 10 for rewatchability. No all-time matches. And total war score for SummerSlam 90 is 42 points, Marcus, which puts it as our second best show of all time. It is 2 points behind Royal Rumble 2002, which is our number one. It is 3 points ahead of SummerSlam 2001. It is 3 3/4 ahead of SummerSlam 92 and 99, and 4 ahead of Evolution. So that's kind of the rest of the top shows. I'll be honest, I was pretty surprised. Like, I knew to do well because it's got so many moments. The atmosphere is great. The build is great. It's a rewatchable show. It's an easy show. There's not a lot of bad on it. That's what really carries it. So while the in-ring lags, no one is going to put this near the top of an in-ring pay-per-view. It's going to be at the bottom. But when you look at everything, everything worked. Like, everything worked, and everything worked well. The crowd is immaculate. The booking is good. We have a through line throughout the show. The big match is delivered. There's a lot of moments. Things happen. It adds up. So, I mean, did I think it'd be top 2? No. Did I think it'd be top 25? Probably.
Yeah, the SummerSlams do well for us. And even just looking at this one, I mean, you could do this with any show that we do, kind of see like, well, if we agreed like a little bit more on this or match each other here, but like I've got 2 all-time matches for me on this list. If they happen to be all-time matches for you, and so that's 2 war points right there, and then you factor in the match bump up to the match grade.
Yep,
this would be the number one show.
Yeah.
So it doesn't miss by much. The SummerSlams have fared very well. I think
it's 4 of our top 5. It's
finding a bit of a formula with their SummerSlams. They kind of give us exactly what we're looking for in this project. Great in-ring,
well-built,
action, big matches.
Crowd.
Hot crowd. Good TV leading up to it. Not surprised that it's a SummerSlam. A little surprised that it is this SummerSlam. I did think it was going to be a top 10 show, but to see it be top two. It's high praise, but at the same time, I went back and rewatched the show the other night just to let me just put it on and make sure I'm fresh. And before I knew it, I was at the main event. It's such a quick watch. It's enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a slog like all of the last season was. So out of the top 5 shows for our SummerSlam, 90, 2001, 92, 99, and in our top 10, we have 5 of them because SummerSlam 2015 is 9th all time. So, I mean, that's, SummerSlam's our king right now. Rounding out the rest of the top 10, we have Evolution in 6th at 38 points, WrestleMania 18 in 7th at 36.75, Rumble 05 in 8th at 36.5. SummerSlam 15 at 35.25, and then our 10th show is WrestleMania 21 at 33.5, and that's out of 108 pay-per-views. The worst one we have is Greatest Royal Rumble 2018 at negative 17.25. So that's a spread of 60 points between the top and the bottom for us. Well, look, it was a big night. We kicked off a great season, and we have a new top 2 show. We'll see how long it lasts up there. But it's got staying power when you look at everything it has in it. So we'll be back next episode. We'll just be covering Survivor Series 1990. We'll do that in 2 weeks. Be sure to check out everything. Subscribe across all of our venues, YouTube, podcast apps, social media. You'll never be bored. You'll never be disappointed. A lot of great content. Leave us some comments. Share us around. We appreciate it. Live your life above replacement level, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.